Hey everybody, welcome back to Planet Coaster and Champ and Sons here in our Planet Coaster 2 series with Austin's Wonderland theme park that we had got the entrance building done in the last episode. So now we're gonna start looking at different ways we can expand out the entrance plaza once you come into the park, right? So a couple of different things I've been thinking about. One, I do want just a smaller roller coaster here. I think just for sightline, being able to see it right as you walk into the park is just a pretty overall, I don't know, just a solid performing thing to see. It gets you excited for being in the theme park and everything like that. So I have been wanting to go ahead and get a smaller, older style coaster in here. So you see me kind of switching back and forth between the different types of them. And I do go with what essentially amounts to the Flashback. Now, in the placement that I'm looking at right here, the thought behind that is really going to be the, I guess if you take it as Six Flags Fiesta Texas is what it would really come off. Is really what it would come from. They have essentially this kind of ride right there at the front. It's not immediately when you walk into the entrance section, but it's close enough. So that's what we're looking at putting in here into this entrance. Now, where you see it at right now, it's definitely not going to remain there. It is going to be moved. So it's not going to be, boom, right here, smack dab, here you go. It is going to kind of be set off to the side and played around with as far as some of those entrance buildings that we're going to put in are going to be at. So we are just getting it designed. And this thing was a little bit tougher than you would imagine. And I guess it just has to do with the speeds. I mean, it's a 45 meter lift hill, so I would assume 38 meters would have made it. But no, it doesn't even come close to us. And now we got to start shrinking everything down, or just raising up the lift hills. We got two options to go. One, obviously, you need to shrink some stuff down. Sorry, shrink some stuff down. But also we'll take a look at raising up the lift hills in a minute. Yeah, and I think, probably going to have to end up doing that. 33 meters you think would be big enough to actually make it over. But it took a lot of finagling to get this thing built. So I'm not so sure why. You see 33 with 45 meter drop, 33 little loop. That should work. I did just decide to quit battling with the size of the Cobra roll right there. And let's just add a little extra height to the thing. So now it's about a 53 meters. So what does that come out to? 150 some odd feet, give or take a little bit at least. So that's what we're looking at. 53 meters for the lift. Let's see if it goes back all the way. And I also had some problems testing because I kept hitting the pause button, wondering why I wasn't testing. But that's just my own fault. And that made it through. And coming on back down, it's got to make it through again. Boom, boom, and it is in. Okay. So now that I've finally got the height down, and I think that may the way I've always ridden these things, especially when you're coming back through them, it goes a lot slower than it does the first time. So here I am just looking at the sightline trying to figure out, man, would this look good right there? And I truly think it does. It fills in a pretty good spot for it. Now it's just working on the damn station, trying to get the entrance on the right side, the exit on the correct side, so we can start building in a queue line, which, my goodness, this is real early on. So I've been sick for a while, haven't been able to produce the videos out. I've got a lot of stuff recorded. And I swear, building these queue lines were a damn struggle for me. I've heard they were struggles for others, but it just about damn near destroyed me, to say the least. But I'm starting to get a good handle on it. And this one, I think, went semi-decent. As far as getting something built out that's serviceable. Now, a part of me wants to be able to go through and have that kind of technical detail to flatten out those edges. I've tried it multiple times. It works to a degree for me, but other times it just looks kind of foolish. So it's one of those, man, I don't know if it's just something I'm doing wrong or what, but there is something going on there. So now I want to figure out the remainder of this entrance plaza. And right here, it does look pretty big, but that's about, let's see, those are 4 meter wide blocks. So we're looking at so about 20 meters wide, which isn't as wide as you would think. It does come off being like huge. Don't get me wrong. It really does, but it's really not as wide as I would have thought when I started thinking about measurements and stuff. Still, it's got a pretty good setup there, and I think it looks pretty decent coming across, coming off. Now we are going to put in a pond section, or not really a pond, but a little water section right there at the beginning, and that's something I think you see kind of standard in parks more or less nowadays. From what I understand, you got to keep in mind I go to Fiesta, Texas, and SeaWorld. I could go to Dallas, but that's a couple hours. That's about 2 hours longer than it is to Fiesta, Texas. So these are the parks I go to. This is what I have to work off of. You know what I mean? Now, building the station, I wanted to make it look a little bit older, with the wooden base and all that. However, it will be changed up at some point throughout, so you will see us kind of make some changes to it here. The end product is not always going to be what you see in front of you. That's just kind of how it goes. So what I'm going to go ahead and let happen here is get this ride kind of finish up the station house, and then I'll jump back in with y'all here later as we get closer to the end and ready for the POV ride of the first coaster that's going into our park here. So I'll be right back with y'all in a little bit. And I am back, and you see me screwing around and trying to flatten out these things. See what happens every now and then? It just destroys me when that occurs, but yeah, that happened. So, got to keep that in mind, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things that I don't know why I struggle with it. I just do. Maybe it's the fine detail of the moving the dot thing, but of moving that little waypoint. But I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I tried my best. Now, the path covers that you see on here, what really inspired, one, you don't have to have path covers on all these things, right? Even in a lot of our parks here in Texas, we don't have path covers specifically, but most rides do to a degree. A lot of them are covered up by trees and stuff like that, so we won't get path covers really till you reach kind of around the station, which makes sense. But in the grand scheme of things, I also figured, going off my experience, you'd want to have some form of shading going on, right? So that's kind of what we are looking at there with it. Here, just putting in some basic lights in the building to light up the station. These lights actually work out really well at night, surprisingly. I think they did a lot better job with the lighting in Planet Coaster 2 than they did in Planet Coaster 1. So we're putting them up all around the station house so they can be seen, and then we'll work on putting them up on the ride a little bit later so the ride can be seen at night. But overall, I think the way this coaster played out, it is a simple one. It's an older style. It really works out for the very beginning of this park. I think it does look pretty well for it. It works out very well in the end. So here we are now. I told you about mentioning the lighting. So we're going to take a look at lighting up this ride, and it also helps provide some lighting for the queue too. So now we are going to be getting ready for the POV ride here in just a little bit. We still have some foliage work to do. I don't remember how much of that I actually got on camera of the foliage work. I start using that the terrain brush, and anytime it doesn't crash, it works pretty well. It's just, my God, it does hammer out some hefty ass scenery like that stuff. So here we're just putting the lights on the actual, track supports up and down the track so you can see it throughout each lift hill, knowing it's not going to be all over the track to see it through the Cobra roll and so forth like that. But I think it provides a good set amount of lighting that someone sitting there watching it go at night, it provides kind of that feeling that you're looking for, that anticipation feeling, that adrenaline getting going feeling, and so forth like that. So I think it does work out really well as we continue to recolor some of the coaster stuff here. And so, yeah, this is going to be the first coaster, and we're not going to have any of the entrance buildings in just yet. They are going to kind of spawn off from this coaster, and taking a look at its color and how it's designed, and the fact it is an older style coaster build. We are going to go with some more, I guess you could say, older style buildings, right? So that's kind of what we're going to be building off of here, thanks to the way this coaster was designed. So yeah, here comes the foliage work in. And this one, yeah, I don't really think of the region too much as far as like tree coverage. One, I just know I just want a lot of it. So throughout this park, you are going to see a bunch of tree coverage. Essentially take it as though you built it in the middle of a kind of a forest setup. I think that works out really well. I think it looks good. It provides a good amount of shading. And ideally, you would want a park to have a bunch of shading, in my opinion. So, of course, I'm a ginger, so I need the shade or else I wilt up in the sun. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way that's going to work. So we're going to finish off some of this foliage work, and then we will hop on the POV here in just a minute as we finish this ride out. But I love the viewpoints. I'm excited to see how already early on we're getting some stuff going in this park. And so I will see y'all in the next episode where we'll get more of the entrance buildings done and really start to see how this park's going to shape out. But I will see y'all with that in the next episode, everybody. So as always, stay safe and Hang on for that POV, and we all know how it goes from here, right? Later, y'all.